Ingredients: pizza dough, makes enough dough for 2 10 to 12-inch pizzas. 1½ cups 355 milliliters warm water 105 degrees Fahrenheit to 115 degrees Fahrenheit 1 package 2¼ teaspoons of active dry yeast 3¾ cups 490 grams bread flour 2 tablespoons extra virgin olive oil omit if cooking pizza in a wood-fired pizza oven 2 teaspoons salt 1 teaspoon sugar pizza ingredients extra virgin olive oil cornmeal to help slide the pizza onto the pizza stone tomato sauce smooth, or pureed firm mozzarella cheese grated fresh soft mozzarella cheese, separated into small clumps fontina cheese, grated Parmesan cheese, grated feta cheese, crumbled mushrooms, very thinly sliced if raw, otherwise first sautéed bell peppers, stems and seeds removed, very thinly sliced Italian pepperoncini, thinly sliced Italian sausage, cooked ahead and crumbled chopped fresh basil baby arugula, tossed in a little olive oil, added as pizza comes out of the oven pesto pepperoni, thinly sliced onions, thinly sliced raw or caramelized ham, thinly sliced special equipment, a pizza stone, highly recommended if you want crispy pizza crust a pizza peel or an edge-less cookie or baking sheet a pizza wheel for cutting the pizza, not required, but easier to deal with than a knife method making the pizza dough 1 proof the yeast, place the warm water in the large bowl of a heavy-duty stand mixer. Sprinkle the yeast over the warm water and let it sit for 5 minutes until the yeast is dissolved. After 5 minutes stir if the yeast hasn't dissolved completely. The yeast should begin to foam or bloom, indicating that the yeast is still active and alive. Note that if you are using instant yeast instead of active yeast, no proofing is required. Just add to the flour in the next step. 2. Make and knead the pizza dough. Using the mixing paddle attachment, mix in the flour, salt, sugar, and olive oil on low speed for a minute. Then replace the mixing paddle with the dough hook attachment. Knead the pizza dough on low to medium speed using the dough hook about 7 to 10 minutes. If you don't have a mixer, you can mix the ingredients together and knead them by hand. The dough should be a little sticky, or tacky to the touch. If it's too wet, sprinkle in a little more flour. 3. Let the dough rise, spread a thin layer of olive oil over the inside of a large bowl. Place the pizza dough in the bowl and turn it around so that it gets coated with the oil. At this point you can choose how long you want the dough to ferment and rise. A slow fermentation, 24 hours in the fridge, will result in more complex flavors in the dough. A quick fermentation, 1½ hours in a warm place, will allow the dough to rise sufficiently to work with. Cover the dough with plastic wrap. For a quick rise, place the dough in a warm place 75 degrees Fahrenheit to 85 degrees Fahrenheit for 1½ hours. For a medium rise, place the dough in a regular room temperature place, your kitchen counter will do fine, for 8 hours. For a longer rise, chill the dough in the refrigerator for 24 hours, no more than 48 hours. The longer the rise to a point, the better the flavor the crust will have. Make ahead freezing instructions after the pizza dough has risen, you can freeze it to use later. Divide the dough in half, or the portion sizes you will be using to make your pizzas. Place on parchment paper or a lightly floured dish and place, uncovered, in the freezer for 15 to 20 minutes. Then remove from the freezer, and place in individual freezer bags, removing as much air as you can from the bags. Return to the freezer and store for up to 3 months. Thaw the pizza dough in the refrigerator overnight or for 5 to 6 hours. Then let the dough sit at room temperature for 30 minutes before stretching it out in the next steps. Preparing the pizzas. 1. Preheat pizza stone, or pizza pan or baking sheet. Place a pizza stone on a rack in the lower third of your oven. Preheat the oven to 475 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 30 minutes, preferably an hour. If you don't have a pizza stone, you can use a pizza pan or a thick baking sheet. You need something that will not warp at high temperatures. 2. Divide the dough into 2 balls, remove the plastic cover from the dough. Dust your hands with flour and push the dough down so it deflates a bit. Divide the dough in half. Form 2 round balls of dough. Place each in its own bowl, cover with plastic and let sit for 15 minutes, or up to 2 hours. 3. Prep toppings. Prepare your desired toppings. Note that you are not going to want to load up each pizza with a lot of toppings as the crust will end up not crisp that way. About 1/3 cup each of tomato sauce and cheese would be sufficient for 1 pizza. 1 to 2 mushrooms thinly sliced will cover a pizza. 4. Flatten dough ball, and stretch out into a round, working one ball of dough at a time. Take one ball of dough and flatten it with your hands on a slightly floured work surface. Starting at the center and working outwards, use your fingertips to press the dough to 1/2 inch thick. Turn and stretch the dough until it will not stretch further. Let the dough relax 5 minutes and then continue to stretch it until it reaches the desired diameter 10 to 12 inches. Treat the dough gently. You can also hold up the edges of the dough with your fingers, letting the dough hang and stretch, while working around the edges of the dough. If a hole appears in your dough, place the dough on a floured surface and push the dough back together to seal the hole. Use your palm to flatten the edge of the dough where it is thicker. Pinch the edges if you want to form a lip. 5. Brush dough top with olive oil. Use your fingertips to press down and make dents along the surface of the dough to prevent bubbling. Brush the top of the dough with olive oil, to prevent it from getting soggy from the toppings. Let rest another 10 to 15 minutes. Repeat with the second ball of dough. 6. Sprinkle pizza peel with cornmeal. Put flattened dough on top, lightly sprinkle your pizza peel, or flat baking sheet, with cornmeal. The cornmeal will act as little ball bearings to help move the pizza from the pizza peel into the oven. Transfer one prepared flattened dough to the pizza peel. If the dough has lost its shape in the transfer, lightly shape it to the desired dimensions. 7. Spread with tomato sauce and sprinkle with toppings. Spoon on the tomato sauce, sprinkle with cheese, and place your desired toppings on the pizza. 8. Sprinkle cornmeal on pizza stone. Slide pizza onto pizza stone in oven. Sprinkle some cornmeal on the baking stone in the oven. Watch your hands, the oven is hot. Gently shake the peel to see if the dough will easily slide. If not, gently lift up the edges of the pizza and add a bit more cornmeal. Slide the pizza off of the peel and onto the baking stone in the oven. 9. Bake pizza. Bake pizza one at a time until the crust is browned and the cheese is golden, about 10 to 15 minutes. If you want, toward the end of the cooking time you can sprinkle on a little more cheese.